Hello and welcome, all agents, trainers, Pikmin bloomers, ballers, lightship pilots, eighth wall advertisers, and our beloved explorers and wayfinders. Welcome to episode number 81 of the Wayspotters podcast. Wayspotters is brought to you by the good people at the Pokemon Professor Network, and today is another Friday. It's actually July 28th, 2023. Hey, Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm good, buddy. How you doing?
Good. Now, I got a question for you. Here's the question of the day. Did you pay attention in high school literature class?
What are you talking about?
This is what I'm talking about.
My fate cries out and makes each petty artery in this body as hardy as the Nemean lion's nerve. Still, I am called. Unhand me, gentlemen. By heaven, I'll make a ghost of him that's let me. I say, away! Go on, I'll follow thee.
He waxes desperate with imagination.
Let's follow. 'Tis not fit thus to obey him.
Have after. To what issue will this come?
Something is rotten in the Netherlands.
Heaven will detect it.
Nay, let's follow him. Now, you guys are probably very confused as to what's going on right now, and I want to let you know we're not going to read the brilliant works of William Shakespeare for the next hour. However, something is afoul in the Netherlands, and we're here to talk about it. But before we get there, I do believe that Chris has some news.
We do.
And now, the latest Niantic news from the Wayspotters podcast, presented by the Pokemon Professor Network.
All right, so we're going to start positive, and then we're going to kind of go downhill from there. So buckle up. Niantic has adjusted the algorithms to show edits from not only your home location, but your bonus location as well. I think that they've just opened up edits to go like wherever you get nominations or reviews from, because I'm getting them from all over. Like I've been all over, so I get reviews from all over, and I've gotten a ton of edits. So hopefully this will kind of push through a lot of the edits that have been stagnant for the last little bit, which will be really good because I still got ones open from February.
And that's only because you have a spreadsheet of all the edits.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Nobody else in the world has a spreadsheet of their edits, but Chris has a spreadsheet of his edits.
That's true, I do. Speaking of edits, one of the ambassadors, Tupinen, apologize for
never say that
name
name
again.
I know.
Identified a problem. So if you submit a location edit or any edit really, and then you open up a ticket with Niantic because they changed it, say you can't do an edit greater than 10 meters now, right? So now you have, if you want to move something more than 10 meters, you have to get Niantic to do it. If you get Niantic to do it, it doesn't override the original edit that is in the system. So you could get Niantic to fix something, and then later on down the road, that edit will show up that other people. So it's causing problems.
Oh, geez.
At least when the edit does show up in the reviews, it gives you the option between what Niantic fixed, like the correct location, and then whatever the suggested edits are.
Interesting.
But it also got
very,
up
very interesting.
Yes, it also brought up another good point. The edits for removed Wayspots are still in the system. So you could potentially be waiting on edits for something that's been removed. So,
well, remember we kind of talked about that last week about how things were being duplicated, and you could be, voting on something that was already approved or denied, and then you didn't get credit in your Wayfarer for that because it was already decisioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is probably the same boat. Niantic Aaron responded that they're looking into it. So,
yeah. Niantic Aaron has been very, very active on the...
very active.
Very active. Like every day, right?
That one bot that... Go ahead.
No, go ahead. The bot.
That one bot in our Discord that says, hey, Niantic said what? It's just like went bing, 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 bing. Whoa, calm down.
I'm like, if Aaron gets paid by the message, he's gonna make a mint this month.
Yes, he will. Last one. Speaking of Niantic, Aaron responded to an abuse post on the forums indicating they are dealing with multiple mass abuse reports at the moment. So the progress might seem slow, but rest assured they are all in queue, they are all in the pipeline, and they are thoroughly investigating every single one. I am waiting on one from a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
But they did send me an email saying, hey, we have it, we're looking into it, we're being as thorough as possible, please be patient. So I was like, cool, take as much time as you want.
So, Chris, that's so interesting that you read that last piece of news. It's almost like we planned this show ahead of time. That is exactly what I want to talk about in topic number one. So, topic number one, I'm going to call it when abuse takes over an area. And for reference material, we'll link it in the show notes. There is there was a thread on the community forums that talked about some abuse that was going on in the Netherlands, hence our little Shakespearean play in the very beginning of the episode. So it appears that there's bots just running wild all over the Netherlands, and I believe it first started in Germany. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of, or it's a lot of it. It's either a bot or it's a lot of explorers with a lot of time on their hands. But just to kind of lay out what's happening, there are people, bots, whatever you want to call them, nominating lots of fake Wayspots in the Netherlands. So there's a couple of different ways that it's happening. There's just straight out fake nominations in there, and then there's people who are taking an existing Wayspot and they are copying the picture and description and they are submitting it somewhere else, 200, 300, 400, 500 kilometers away from where it's supposed to be. So it's a legitimate Wayspot. It's just in the wrong place. Then there's people that are nominating things that are not eligible, such as light posts with numbers on them. And these are going in by the dozens, and it's just polluting areas. So there's a lot of different bits of cheating and abuse going on in that area. Chris, do you want to go over the other part of that?
So yeah, it's the light post one is crazy. There's also people are just nominating stuff that they've created on their own like houses and like drainage pipes and that whole thread is just crazy because there's people kind of defending it's the worst part is it's like, oh well, Niantic let it happen, so I'm just gonna do it because what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
There was one thing that I wanted to read, and it's from RAIJNYU Ingress, and it was put on the forums on the 25th. So it reads, "It's getting out of hand rather quickly. Every town I visit has a handful up to several dozen of these fake trail markers, streetlight IDs, or hydrant signs. I discovered the above area last week before finding this discussion, and I've already sent through abuse through the forum. So far, I got a response saying it's been looked into. Hopefully this gets resolved fast, but the damage is spreading quickly. The hydrant sign should also be looked into. These signs point at nearby underground hydrants. Most of them are 2 to 3 meters away from the sign. These hydrants are used for a few services. One of them are firefighters / emergency services. I don't think it's safe to have players gather around these signs, lures, or raids in Pogo, as this is a chance to obstruct emergency services. Unlike the street light ID signs, these hydrants are less common, but still common enough to be found roughly every 100 to 200 meters. You walk around town. Around my house, there are 3 in a 65-meter radius." So that just kind of defines the problem. And one of the things that we will share on socials this week is just, it's a, when you go in and you're reviewing the nearby location and it shows all of the nearby POIs, it's a list of all of the light posts with IDs on them that if someone is reviewing it who's not from that area might not know that's just a generic light post. But it's quite troubling that, well, I'll get into that later, the troubling part. I'll stick to the facts right now. But the problem is people, bots, whomever, are taking advantage of cracks in the Wayfarer system to get things in. And when you look at this on the Intel map, you can clearly see there are 3, 4, 5 POIs in each cell where they shouldn't be. And these are getting ported into Pokemon Go because they're moving it from a legitimate location to a false location, and that's how they're getting it in. But Chris, the one thing I wanted to hear from you on, and I know you jumped in on this thread, is people are getting upset. People are getting butthurt because people are getting banned and people are getting disciplined because they started following the trend of what they saw. So I wanted to hear your perspective on this.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of people in there are just like, well, if it's, and this is great. Sea Princess had a great comment. So someone was like, well, Niantic's letting it happen, so I'm just going to do it too. Like, why would I not want more Pokestops, or why would I not want more portals? And if Niantic's not going to stop it, then I'm just going to jump aboard the abuse train and whatever. It's like, if I put all of my money on a table and then walk away, like, should, I expect not someone to steal it? And then Sea Princess was like, yeah, when I was 4, I was taught stealing is bad. Right? I thought that was hilarious. I love that.
Exactly.
But so
the other thing, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, and then I'll read my thing.
No, I was going to say the other thing that I saw in there where people were like, well, you expect a 10 questionnaire to teach people how to do the criteria. And it's like, come on, don't do that. Everyone who's doing this knows the criteria, and they know that they're cheating, and they're just hoping not to get caught. So don't go back to the test is only 10 questions, but go ahead and finish. I'm going to share on stream right now, or on screen, what we were talking about earlier. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you can see it. But if you are listening to this audio, we're going to share this image on our socials, but it's a clear image of all of the POIs stacked essentially right on top of each other. But take it away, Chris.
It's crazy. I took one of them because it was just like, well, if police aren't going to stop, then why should Niantic and all this crap? And let me find what I said. It said, now I assume that in the same village, some people saw those things getting accepted and they started copying him, but that's not their mistake. It's yours. And he was talking to Niantic Aaron, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, that's not how this works. The criteria is the criteria. It's responsibility of every single user in Wayfarer to learn and know the criteria. If they're seeing something appear on the map they don't feel meets the criteria, it's their responsibility to either clarify their understanding of the criteria or acknowledge that the POI should not have made it onto the map and either move on, or if it's so egregious, report it and get Niantic to remove it, right? Because we know that Niantic doesn't like removing things that are out, and some things slip through, right?
Right.
I said at no point should any Wayfarer user look at something that should have not been accepted and think, well, if that got through, so can I, and start abusing the system to get Wayspots everywhere. The whole blame Niantic for not catching the abuse narrative is odd to me. They let it happen. I was like, what? They can't be everywhere all at once. Stuff slips through. Like, this is like blaming the police for not stopping every single crime before it happens. That's not how life works. Anybody who looks at people getting away with abuse shrugs their shoulders and goes, if you can't beat them, join them, deserves what they get. So
100%. I don't think it could have been said any better. That's why I wanted you to read that. What you wrote on there. It's so good. Now, here's the deal. Niantic is patrolling a global game, right? This is not a cartridge game or a CD game. This is a game that is a live service game. It's around the whole world. And this is why Wayspotters and explorers need to be diligent about helping to report abuse, because Niantic, there's no way they're going to know something's happening in the Netherlands if no one tells them. They can't patrol the entire planet.
Yep.
Chris,
Exactly.
you and I, we've sent things to a contact at Niantic and said, hey, you may want to look at this cluster in X place. And they looked at this cluster in X place and they're like, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. But that's what it takes. So the thing that I love about this, and you and I talked about this 2 days ago, is that Niantic said, okay, great. We're looking into this. So, I put in our notes, Niantic investigates. Niantic drops the ban hammer. Accounts get suspended and terminated. People get butthurt. And the funny part about it is even the people that were reporting it are like, well, hold on now. You didn't have to ban them or suspend them for 90 days. They just did this. So the thread, it almost reads like a movie. It kind of takes that whole arc, then it gets into like this dark villain arc. And then the person who's reporting it kind of turns into the abuser's like best friend. And it was just wild. I mean, it was just great. I actually went in the kitchen to pop some popcorn while I was reading it. It was really good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I put in our notes, Chris, and we can share this on screen if we want to, what an account termination notice looks like, or we can just send that out on socials. But what a lot of people were upset about was they did Wayfarer abuse, and Niantic banned their account, which banned their Pokemon Go account, it banned their Pikmin account, it banned their Ingress account, it banned their NBA account, RIP.
Yep.
And, it banned everything. Any Niantic account was banned. So people were like, well, why didn't it just take away my Wayfarer account? Because it's a connected global game. So nothing's going to stop those people from.
They said they were going to do this.
Yeah, they did. They said they were going to do it, and they did it. So when Niantic follows through with what they said, you kind of got to accept it. What's your overall thought of
and that's
the action
thing, right?
that Niantic took?
I think it's good, right? They said that they were going to do this, right? Like they said, don't abuse, because we've bought a nice new shiny hair. It's really, really big. It's really, really heavy, and we're going to hit you with it. And when we hit you with it, it might not affect just your Wayfarer account. It might affect your Pogo account or your Ingress account or your Pikmin account or all of your accounts. And then they also said, yes, we have this 3-strike policy, and this is hilarious because people were just like, well, why did you go straight to 90 days? What happened to your 3-strike policy? Way to be consistent, Niantic, right? Teaser for later. But they're just like, yeah, we also said that if your abuse is so egregious that we're going to drop this hammer on you hard. So it's like the police have 911 for you to report crimes. Right?
Yes.
They have numbers. Niantic has a form to report abuse.
Now, Chris, let me jump in real quick. So the 3 strikes policy, if you remember and if you read correctly, the 3 strikes policy was originally for Pokemon Go for spoofers. It was for spoofers. They never said it was going to be for Wayfarer or for Ingress or for anything else. It was strictly for spoofers. You were going to get a 7-day warning. You were going to get a 30-day warning. You get a 90-day warning, and then you were done. Niantic has always reserved the right to move up the chain if they need to, and Wayfarer never said you were going to get a 7-day warning before. And if you're going to cheat the system at a fundamental level like this, I don't see why you should be allowed to vote or submit POIs.
Correct. 100%. And that's the thing, right? So, if they went straight to a 90-day ban for Wayfarer and Pogo, you did something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? And it's funny because the guy in the like, oh, I got regrets. I don't maybe I shouldn't have done this. But like, if it caught up people that you thought were only abusing the system a little, and he put in nominating stuff, I can't remember exactly what the word was, but it says, some of it may be abuse. I don't know. Maybe it's like a little bit. Like,
just a little bit, right? It's like, no. So I think regret is the funny part about that, because in the very beginning, that person, I don't know if it was he or her, whomever, was so upset about it, screenshots and all this. And then at the end, it was like, well, and it's like, and it almost made me feel like maybe they knew a little bit more about it than they had planned on, or that some of their, because they said, oh, well, people know me. I think some of the people that they were friends with did it and got caught up in the bandwave. And they were like, this person is not a cheater. This person was just doing what they saw. And it's like you said earlier, a cheater's a cheater. It doesn't matter if you were the person who was in charge of the bot or if you were just someone who's doing it. And it doesn't matter that your friend got caught up in it. It is what it is. Niantic did the correct thing.
Yep. And here's the thing, right? And this applies to in real life. I keep talking about laws and the police and stuff, but if if you're out there and you see a bunch of fire hydrants or a bunch of firehouses in the game, and you go nominate a bunch more and get all your friends to vote on them and put them in the game, right? They're not eligible. You're abusing the system. You may not know you're abusing the system, but you're abusing the system. And ignorance of the rules is not an excuse. You take the test. It's your responsibility as a wayfinder to know the rules and not break them. And if you break them and you don't know you're breaking them, it's like walking up to somebody and punching them in the face and going, "Oh, I didn't know that was illegal." Guess what? You're still going to jail.
I didn't know that was assault.
I don't need a driver's license. I'm traveling.
That's right. Exactly.
Right,
well, Chris, that brings us into, we'll just kind of morph right into topic number 2. So that was kind of the factual basis with a little bit of editorializing on our side in there. But topic number 2 is probably the more important topic, to be completely honest with you. And I want to say, why is it so important for Niantic Wayfarer to remain consistent in their handling of these episodes, let's call it.
Mm-hmm.
Explorers truly believe that they know better than Niantic. And it's like you said, it's a monkey see, monkey do world out there. Niantic needs to get control of their damn game and their damn game board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clear and simple. I'm giving them a little grace because there's no way they can monitor the entire globe. There's just no way. There's no way. Now, can they set traps for people in certain areas? Sure. Are they going to tell us about that? Of course not. But they've got to find a way to have a better system, I'll say, of allowing people like you and I who reach out to them quite often and say, "Hey, you might want to check these coordinates. You might want to check those coordinates." And crazy idea. If you report a cluster to Niantic that they find to be legitimate, throw somebody an upgrade, but Niantic has got to get control of their game board. Anti-cheat is just too easy to cheat. It's whack-a-mole. Yeah. So I want to get your thoughts, Chris, because my ideas are we've got to police ourselves. And I know that's not the best. I know that's not the best idea. Because there are people out there who are going to band together to cheat, and they're going to create these fake accounts. And it's so easy. It is so easy to get a Pokemon Go account up to level 37, right? I could do it in a week. Easy. Mm-hmm. And if I've got a bot and if I've got a map, I could bot 20 accounts to level 37 in a week without really having to do anything at all. Yeah. And then once you get to level 37, then you can start nominating and you can start voting. And it's the test is super easy, and the test lets you go every 15 minutes if you get it wrong. They've got to find a way to police it. So I want to know what you think on that.
Hot take. I think that level 37 in Pogo is too low. So let me ask you this. If you were to grind Ingress, like hardcore, how long would it take you to get to level 10? Like, I'm still not even there, and I've been playing since.
Oh, man, it takes a while. Like, it's not easy at all.
So why is it that you have to grind all the way to level 10 in Ingress to be able to submit Wayspots, but you can do it at level 37 in Pogo?
Right. Yeah.
I even think 40 is too low.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a hot take.
That is a hot take, because 40 is kind of the standard bearer for you kind of doing everything. But if you allow me to jump in, and I know you're probably starting the timer on me. You're probably starting the timer on me. I didn't ask for 2 minutes. I just said, can I jump in? If you grind to level 10 in Ingress, you have a better concept and idea of Wayspots than if you just get to level 37 in Poco. That's a hot take. Because to get to level 10 in Ingress, you've got to do badges, you've got to do all these other things, and you kind of understand what's going on. But my daughter could start an account today and in 2 weeks be at level 37 and know nothing about the game board. So I agree with your hot take. Your hot take about 40 is too low. That's a hot take there, because now you're talking about throwing off the entire ecosystem of the game. I'd like to hear a little more about that.
I have an idea. So put it to level 40, right? But make it so that, hey, congratulations, you've reached level 40. You have earned the ability to do reviews. You cannot submit Wayspots. You cannot do edits. You cannot do anything like that will manipulate the game board. You are level 40. Now you have to go into the system and do 5,000 reviews. And after those 5,000 reviews, your acceptance percentage needs to be at a certain level, 60%, we'd say.
Okay.
Then after 5,000 reviews and a 60% agreement, sorry, not acceptance, agreement percentage, that means that people agree with you more often than not. Niantic will review your account and your voting history, because they can do that, and then go in and give you the ability to submit Wayspots. Probationarily, where Niantic will review like your first 10. And then if your first 10 go through and they think, cool, you're good, maybe 5, we'll go 5. Then you get released into the wild. Right?
In the general population.
And that would call the bots, because the bots are getting to level 37 and being like, look, there's fire hydrants everywhere. And now my home is a park and has 17 gyms, and I can now I'm level 50 because I can just play from my couch.
Please tell me you're going to turn that into a short. Please tell me that's going to be
100%. 100%.
Because that right there, my friend, is a hot take. That's a steaming hot take. Like I can't even get close to the mic. That take was so hot. And we need to post that clip, Chris, everywhere. We need to put that on the WDD. That needs to be on Twitter, Instagram. That is a steaming hot take. And we need to also, I want to hear you pitch that to Niantic in New York. I like that.
100%.
I think some people are going to say that might sound a little gatekeeperish, but if we want a clean game board, I think that's the way to go, right?
You know the old saying, this is why we can't have nice things?
Yes.
This is why we can't have nice things. We need a way that's not over and this isn't unrealistic. This is something that you should be going in and doing reviews anyway. Maybe 5,000 is too much. Maybe it's 1,000, right? But you need to be able to find a way other than the test, because the test is great, but like you said, you could take it every 30 minutes and fail until the cows come home.
15
or every 15 minutes, right?
Every 15 minutes you can take the test.
Or you can say, hey, Billy, you've got 10,000 agreements. Come over here and take this test for me, right? Or
the test is online. It's on Reddit. Yeah. Everybody knows that. It's on Reddit. Yeah.
You can get the answers.
You can go and see it's on Reddit.
People aren't reading that. They're just doing the test and cheating, right? So, and if you're going to cheat Wayfarer, you're going to cheat the test. So we're not stopping the bots without, there's no way to stop the bots right now in the system. They're just going to, you're right. If you ban 17 bots in a voting ring, they're just going to create 17 new accounts tomorrow.
Right. It literally takes a week with a bot to get an account up to 37, maybe even less. If they put it in, yeah. So, but Chris, let me ask you this. I'm sure you know locals. I know locals who have said, hey, I got to level 37 or 38 or 40 or whatever, and I made a nomination and it got denied. And I'm like, what's your nomination? And I look at it and it's like something in their front yard.
Oh, I know.
I think we also, and people are like, oh, I'm done with Wayfarer. I nominated 5 things and they all got denied. And I look at them and I'm like, yeah, those are cold. They suck. Actually, can you send that to me so I can put it on my podcast for Cold Week? But in reality, I think Niantic, us, whomever, I'm not putting the blame squarely on them, need to do a better job in education, because 100%. The casual Wayfinder, the casual Pogo player, I'm gonna turn into somebody I hate right now. I'm gonna turn into a gatekeeper. The casual Ingress player knows. The casual Pogo player does not know. And I'll die on that hill also. Yep. The casual Pogo player doesn't understand why something is eligible or not eligible, or why it has to be where it is, because nothing in Pokemon Go teaches you that. Ingress, in order to be successful at Ingress, you have to plan things out on the map. You've got to go to Intel. You've got to draw your lines on your phone or whatever to go plan out where your triangles are going to be and your rhombuses and all of these other geometric terms that I don't know what they are. I just like to draw pretty pictures on the map. I digress. An Ingress player has to go out and talk to other people and say, hey, I'm going to throw this to there. Can you throw it from here to there? And I'll throw it from here and we'll make a triangle. And then I'll make these other triangles. So an Ingress player has an idea of what the map looks like. They have an idea of where it's laid out, even if they're using Intel without the cells, because you don't really need the cells in Ingress. But even if you do, you know that there are things that are spaced out, you know, several meters from each other, right? You have a basic understanding of the game board, and you might say, hey, in order for me to do a bath over this area, I need a portal right here. So I need to go here and put a portal strategically in this place. Oh, and it will also show up in Pokemon Go, so that's double. But there's nothing in Pokemon that prepares you for that. I think Ingress prepares a Wayfinder for Wayfarer much better. So that's why I say getting to level 10, I feel that you have a better idea of what you're going to be doing in Wayfarer than just getting to level 37, even 40 in Pogo.
Yep, 100%, absolutely. And it's Ingress is much more of a I need to plan my life out before I leave the house, whereas Pogo is me Pokemon, go walk.
Right. Now, there's people.
I'm going to get some hate for that, but it is what it is.
No, it is. But then again, Chris, so I will acknowledge this. There are people in the Wayfarer discussion Discord and on the community forums that are like, forget the sales, forget planning. If you see a cool POI, take a picture and nominate it. I like to work smarter, not harder. I get that, but I'm not going to go out and spend a day walking around nominating things that I'm never going to be able to play with. Like, that's just,
and that's fair.
Like, you know, I'm a min-max guy. Like, I get it. That statue's cool, but there's another statue 6 meters away from it that will prevent that statue from going in. I look at it, a waste of my time to take a picture, to take another picture, to write a creative description, and in my area, wait 6 months for it to get approved, and then I can't play it? No. Maybe in your area where everything goes through in a week, sure, but I'm not going to wait 6 months for something I'm never going to be able to interact with. So I am going to be uber strategic and uber careful when it comes to what I nominate and how I do it. And I'm going to look at the map and I'm going to look at the sales, and that's just how I roll. Yeah,
I know 100%. I am kind of on the other end of that than you are. That's one of the things that we differ on. But having said that, I will go through, and if I'm going into an area like the one little town that I'm going to do at some point this summer when I get up to my parents' place, and when I went to Midland, I did the planning and I looked at stuff that I could nominate, and I try to find a way to put it in an empty cell. But I'm very much, if I can't find a way to put it into an empty cell, I'm going to try and make it so that it shows it up in Ingress. But if I can't, I'm still going to do it anyway, right? So I'm very much a max guy. So I'll go nominate everything, right? But yeah, it's easy to kind of just go out there and nominate everything wherever. But,
I wish I could. Yeah, I wish I could. I wish I didn't have nominations from November of 2022.
Yeah.
You know,
no, 100%. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah,
and you know, we bag on Pogo players a lot, but there are some very intelligent, very strategic, very good Pogo players that are amazing Wayfarers, right? And they only play Pogo, right? And they're fantastic. But when you look at it, the majority of the Pogo Wayfarers are less informed than Ingress players.
Yep, and I think that's fair. And if somebody disagrees and they want to come on and debate with us, we'll have you on as a guest, right? We'll have you on. We're all about discourse, but I think what Chris said is accurate. And I think I've been doing this long enough that I can say that. And it's not just, that's not a hot take. I've got data to back that up. And I look at a lot of things in the map in my area and a lot of the empty cells. And, you know, like I said, I can back that up with data. But back to what I was saying before I kind of got off on my tangent, and I don't think the timer's still running. But but Niantic has got to do a better job of getting control of their game.
Yes.
Now,
completely agree.
They might have control of their game and not tell us, but they've got to do a better job of telling us what they're doing. Like if I were to come to your neighborhood, there would be a street sign that would tell me the speed that I can go on any street in Ottawa, or in your town, any street, right? There's going to be a sign that's going to tell me that I can't cross the street here, or that I should cross the street there, or if I'm going into a building, I can't bring in a firearm. There's signs in life that tell you what your expectations are. And one area that I think Niantic is lacking, and I don't remember if we talked about this last week when we had our show Holding Niantic Accountable, is Niantic does not do a good job of letting people know where the guardrails are, right? It's very fuzzy. We need some hard guardrails that if you do Wayfarer abuse and list out the 4 or 5 things that they consider Wayfarer abuse, you're going to get banned. The first strike is going to be 30 days, or the first strike is going to be 90 days, whatever it's going to be. They need to say that. If we find a bot, we're going to nuke this bot halfway across the world, right?
Yep.
Don't do it. I don't see the harm in that. Again, I'm not Niantic. I don't work in San Francisco, Seattle, or Los Angeles, RIP. But I think that they need to do that because they have to draw a hard line to let people know what's going to happen, or else it's going to be whack-a-mole all the time. They're going to just hit this in Berlin and hit this in Indonesia and then hit this in Amsterdam, and then whoever knows where the next one is going to be. People have a lot of free time on their hands, and people will try to figure out how to, best make their gameplay. And it's not, Chris, I honestly believe this. It's not like people are saying, I'm going to do this in my own neighborhood. I fully believe it's spoofers that are setting up areas where they can go and spoof. They're smart enough not to do it in their own neighborhood, but they're doing it in these places where they can then throw their bots and they can go. And then honestly, what they're doing is they're selling shinies on the internet. I see it all the time, right?
Yep.
We talked about it. There's people that are running these services that, hey, you want a shiny Articuno? I got you. It's going to cost you $8. Come meet me on eBay, because they're setting up all these gyms and all these lines, and it's just getting out of hand. But Niantic, if you're listening, from Blame Jamal, you got to find a way to get a hold of your game, and you got to come up with some big statement to tell people, if you cheat, here's what's going to happen. And then this goes back to Niantic Aaron, you got to post some examples. I know you're saying we don't comment directly on anything we did with this or that. You got to say user 54321 in Germany was banned for 90 days, and here's what they did. So don't do it. They got to make an example out of people.
Yeah.
Not like public hangings back in the 1800s, but
right. Yeah. Right. I don't think they necessarily need to reveal names, but they need to say, hey, we got six users got a 90-day, 4 users got a 30-day. And I honestly think that if they're sending out these emails to these accounts, they need to say, here's what we caught you doing. Here's the Wayspots that we caught you abusing on. Give them the details. Like give the community the details and say, listen, we removed 127 Wayspots that were abused by 7 users, and they got a combined 400 days of a ban, right?
Right, exactly. Now, I know that A. Ferrandis and a lot of the ambassadors are working behind the scenes diligently. So this is not me just throwing stuff out without having a solution. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that we don't know about, right? But they got to make some of that public.
Yeah. I think they're taking giant steps. I think they're taking very giant steps in the right direction by banning Pogo accounts and by banning, Wayfarers for 30, 60, 90, 120 permanently. I think they're taking steps in the right direction. But catching them and banning them is one thing. They need to get to the root of the problem. And for me, I firmly believe that's making it more difficult to be eligible to make Wayspots and Pogo, because no one's creating Ingress accounts to abuse the system.
Correct.
No, 0 people are doing that.
I'm going to start Ingress and I'm going to grind to level 10. I'm going to get all these badges and all this AP so I can go do some abuse. It's just so much easier to friendship your way to 37 than it is to do that.
It's too easy.
Yep.
It is too easy. And I think that friendship and the way that Pogo has evolved probably evolved to a point where it was easier to get to that level that the Wayfarer team kind of expected. And now they're in this spot where they maybe feel like they don't want to bump it back to 40 and create all these extra, speed bumps to get to, but they have to. And in my opinion, they really have to.
What level? Okay, let's continue your hot take, right? What level do you think should be eligible?
I almost,
is it 40? Is it 42? Is it 44? What is it?
Maybe 41. Because 41 is the first one that you have to kind of go through hoops to get to. You have to actually do stuff. Whereas 40, you can just friendship your way, and you don't even have to catch a single Pokemon other than your starter. You catch one Pokemon, and you can friendship your way to.
That's true. That is very true. You can friendship and raid. You can friendship and raid with eggs all the way up to 40.
Or this week, when it's 5 times experience for spinning a new Pokestop, you could spoof your way with a couple of lucky eggs to 40 in about an hour. Really,
put yourself on Pier 37 or whatever it is, or Central Park or the Eiffel Tower, and just let your dude run around.
Yep. So I just either that or just bump it back to 40 and make put the hoops in the Wayfarer system. Make people do reviews. Make people, take a more thorough test. Make people get 1,000 agreements. Do something that makes them sit in front of their computer and actually think about what's a good Wayspot, rather than, congratulations, I have 40 best friends. Now I can go do whatever the hell I want. Right? There's no correlation there. Like, you're right with Ingress. You have to understand the map.
You do
play that game and to get to level 10. And
you gotta understand the map.
Yeah, I got nothing, right? So I don't know.
Yep. No, you're not wrong. I like it. I think we went real hard on that. I think we probably sound like gatekeepers to people that we always say don't be a gatekeeper to, but we're giving out suggestions. Something has got to change, because every month there's going to be a new area on the planet where somebody is running bots, and everyone's going to get mad. And at the end of the day, it really is taking away time from Niantic, who could be working on new products or who could be working on other things while they're trying to fix this abuse. And I know they probably have an abuse team that, they're not working on a new feature because they're working on abuse. But if there were more teeth in a policy, then maybe that abuse team wouldn't have to work as hard as possible.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Completely agree. Yep.
Cool. All right. So before we go to break, let's read our funny news story of the day. I got to find some music or something to go along with this, or some funky intro. I'll work on that before I have my next show. But explorers, wayfinders, this week funny news story comes to us from Iowa. And we've got friends in Iowa. We've got Oxen, we've got Mythical Hitch, we've got Stephanie, and the whole Iowa Wayfarer group. Shout out to those guys. We're looking at you this week. We love our Iowa people, and we'll see them in New York.
Yep.
But this week's comes to us from Colfax, Iowa. And the title reads, Iowa man collects 70,000 pencils, and it's being evaluated as a possible world record. All right. Now, I'm going to credit this story to the AP, and I didn't get the exact writer of the story, but it's very important that we credit. So credit to the Associated Press for this story. An Iowa man may be well on his way to an official world record for pencils. Aaron Bartholomew of Colfax has been collecting wooden advertising pencils since he was a child. Now he claims he owns more than 70,000. That's substantially more than the Guinness Book of World Records largest pencil collection of 24,000 held by Emilio Arenas from Uruguay since 2020.
Wow.
Bartholomew told KCCI TV that his most treasured pencils are those from his hometown, noting that in many instances, the pencils are the only place where there is a record of that business, are the only place where there is any record of that business still. And to think it's just a neat way to preserve history. So last weekend, 2 counters from the American Pencil Collectors Society, hard stop.
That's a thing.
I'm going to read that again. Hold on. I'm going to read that again. Last weekend, 2 counters from the American Pencil Collectors Society were at the Colfax Historical Society to count Bartholomew's pencils. Now he's waiting to hear if the count is approved by Guinness, which he estimates the review process could take up to 3 months. Is that equivalent to watching paint dry, Chris?
It might be. I love pencils. I'm gonna put that out there right now. If you give me a pen and a pencil, I will use a pencil 100% of the time.
Right.
I'm a big fan of pencils. I have a small pencil collection. But 70,000 is crazy.
It is crazy. I don't even know how to quantify that. I'm just stuck on the fact that there's an actual American Pencil Collectors Society. I'm going to need to Google that and do some research on that and find out like where that comes from, because goodness gracious, is there a society for everything? Like I
think there might be.
Who pays that? How do you get funding for that?
I don't know.
Right?
Donations, I suppose.
If I go apply for a job, what's the salary to be part of the American Pencils Collectors Society?
So
anyhow, Chris. Let me
tell you a pencil story real quick.
Okay,
so
let's hear it.
I worked for one of the warehouses for one of the grocery chains that's up here. I would always go to meetings and I would take my notes in with pencil, right? Because I hate pens, right? And we had a freezer in that warehouse, and every time you went into the freezer, you couldn't use a pen because it would freeze. So I would always use my pencil. So I just use pencils. So I'm in a meeting with a couple of directors, one of the vice president of operations or something like that, and like all the managers from the warehouse, right? So they're doing a presentation and I'm sitting there with my notes and I'm taking notes, and my pencil was like as short as it could be, like the short pencil that you can't even get into a pencil sharpener anymore. That's how short it was. It was like,
it's like the little stubby.
Yeah, it was like this big, like tiny, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I'm writing my notes, and all of a sudden a pencil just goes flying across the table. And I kind of look up, and the vice president is looking at me, goes, "I can't watch you write with that pencil anymore. It's driving me nuts." Because can you not afford pencils? Do we not even have any pencils in this warehouse? Like, we pay you guys. And I'm just like, no, and the other managers are laughing because they know how I am with my pencils, right? I wear them to the nub. And I had a drawer, about 4 or 5 of them, just little nubs of pencils in my drawer at work. So I was like, no. And then the GM of the warehouse is just like, no, that's just how he is with pencils. It's weird. We've all just kind of accepted it. So every time that vice president came to visit the warehouse, he would bring me a pencil from somewhere. Like just a random pencil.
Hey, you might end up with 70,000 pencils someday.
I think if I still worked there, I might have. But yeah, it was a little cool. And then when he finally retired, he came and brought me like 4 or 5 pencils. He's like, "Hey, this should get you through until you retire." I was like,
that is awesome. Yeah. I love it. All right, you ready to go to break?
I'm ready to go to break.
All right, let's go to break. I'm gonna go and see. I don't know if I have a pencil here. Maybe on break I'll go and find a pencil. And maybe we should get some Wayspoters pencils made.
Yes, I would love a Wayspoters pencil.
We should do some Wayspoters pencils. All right. Anyhow, let's go ahead and start the music. Let's go to break, and we will see you on the other side. My neighbor gave me a new roof for free. He said it was on the house. What has a spine but no bones? A book. Why did the tourists feel disappointed upon seeing the Liberty Bell? I guess it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. How did the Vikings communicate with one another? You got it, by Norse code. What do you call 2 monkeys that share an Amazon account? Primates. Why did the man put his money in the freezer? Because he wanted cold, hard cash. All right, everybody, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the dad jokes. And we are going to go into the back half of the show. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up the Wayspot of the week. And I'm going to take this one. This one is such a cool Wayspot of the week, Chris. I saw this and I'm like, ooh, I like it. So this Wayspot of the week comes to us from Lizzie B. Darcy in the Georgia Wayfarer Discord. Again, this is Sea Princess's Discord. Sea Princess, we're giving your people a lot of airtime. We need to get you back on Wayspotters. But this particular Wayspot here is a mural. It's a Salvador Dali mural, which means it's going to be weird from the jump. Anything Salvador Dali is going to be weird. But it's a picture of Salvador Dali, and it's lots of colors. I don't even know if I can adequately describe this, but this person took it when they were in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and it was accepted at the end of June. And the description reads, beautiful mural entitled The Mouse, of the famous artist Salvador Dali by Edgar Raphael, at the end of a hallway in the upper floor of the central bus station. So if you guys are familiar with Salvador Dali, it's typically what you would expect from him. It's very abstract. There's lots of colors. There's the face in the middle with the mustache, and the eyes just jump out at you. But this is something that if I saw it, I'd definitely nominate it. So I like this one. Your thoughts on this one, Chris?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's very colorful, striking. Very you can't walk past this without stopping to look at it. It's amazing.
Right. Yep. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the jingle. And I think everybody knows what jingle I'm talking about.
I've been working on the Wayfarer all the live long day. I've been working on the Wayfarer just to pass the... Uh-oh. Oh, no. Hey, Jamal, I found some coal.
We did indeed find some coal. Chris, I'm going to just turn this over to you.
All right. So pull it up. All right. This coal comes to us from friend of the show, Mouse558855, via email. And it is from Germany. So the nomination of itself is, it looks like a carving of an angel on the side of a building. Eligible in and of itself. However,
in and of itself.
The description, not so much. It is apparently, and I don't speak German, but it is full of typos and misspelt words. And it is one of those things that was nominated not where it actually is. It was nominated quite a ways away from where it actually is. And the supporting photo is some dude with a bird.
Is that a live animal?
It's a live animal. It's a dude.
Now, live animals are okay in the supplemental photos, but it's still a live animal. So it hit all the criteria that I like. It's in German. You got to read German, and there's a live animal. But anyhow, like I said, people have figured out how to get on the show.
Yeah, this is a very you choice. I'm just gonna leave it there. Yeah. So the picture is an angel on the side of a church. The wings are carved into the building. It's a typical angel statue on the side of a building. The description, the title is cut off. So the description is, and I am probably going to butcher some of this because it's typoed. So this is not my fault. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Her ist ein Bugnungsstätte für alle Zugangig. Why ein Museum zum Thema Kriegsoffer aus zu Weltkrieg Touristen jeden Tag on Einden. Es fahren täglich Gruppen vor mit Bussen und hab schon mit dem ein oder anderen Pokémon Freundschaft geschossen. So, first of all, it says Pokemon in there. So,
right.
No. And it translates to... they say it's a little hard to translate since the German is garbled. So, monument to war victims. Here is a meeting place open to everyone, like a museum about war victims from the Second World War. Tourists every day without end. Groups come daily by bus, and I have already become Pokemon friends with one or two. So, yeah, that is, you cannot mention Pokemon or any other game in your supporting or your description. So, sorry about your luck. That is coal.
That is coal, certified coal. All right. I like it when you speak German, Chris. That's awesome. And thank you to Mouse, aka Courtney. They asked us if didn't know if they wanted us to feature it on the show since it had to do with an abusive nomination that was moved from one place to another, but it fit the theme of what we were talking about today. So I thought it was perfect. We were talking about things that got moved from one place to another. So thank you, Mouse, aka Courtney. We really appreciate you. So let's go to Cole number 2, Chris. Let's bring that up. So Cole number 2. Hold on one second.
There we go.
Cole number 2. All right. So I found this Cole while I was reviewing. This comes from the great state of North Carolina, and this one is it's so Cole-tastic. So let me just kind of explain to you what you're seeing here if you're listening to the audio. It's a picture of the corner of a mobile home, so a trailer, and there is a flag that is in the ground next to the corner of the mobile home, and it's a Baltimore Ravens flag. And the title is Ravens Football Flag, and the description is Fan Favorite Baltimore Ravens Flag. Now, this is right at the side of someone's home, and it's a removable flag, and it's the Baltimore Ravens, and who likes the Ravens anyway? Get to that later. Now, the description on this is, I have no other Pokestops near my house or gyms, decided I needed to make my own. Sir or madam? Nah, dog, that's not how it works.
We need a jingle. We need a little jingle that says, sing it with me now. That's not how Wayfarer works.
That's not how Wayfarer works. But this goes back to my point I made earlier, Chris, that the average Wayfinder probably doesn't know that this is not eligible. They might not know, right? If I give them the benefit of the doubt, there's nothing here. They don't know. Yeah. I can almost guarantee you this is not an English person. Anyways, this is Cole. But my little jab at Baltimore Ravens fans. I'm a Panthers fan. I live in Carolina. I hate every team that's not my team. So, the Ravens. It's Cole. I mean, it's PRP. It's a bad photo. It's a bad description.
It's temporary.
The supplemental, yes, temporary. The supplemental photo is just a picture of the same thing at night, and you can't see it. It's just bad. It's just Cole all the way around.
Oh yeah, this is like -1 stars.
Exactly. All right, Chris. We talked about a whole lot of stuff today. We got a little bit deep into some things, and hopefully, all of you explorers and wayfinders and wayspotters out there really enjoyed what you heard. And we're going to get you guys back out to your Sunday. So, as we always say, we can't have an episode of Wayspotters without shouting out our executive producer, KatettheKonz. You rock, as well as all of the patrons on the Pokemon Professor Network. We love all of you guys. We love how active you are in the Discord, and we, just want you guys to keep sending us stuff in. We get most of our stuff from our patrons, and we appreciate you. So, if you enjoyed listening to this episode of Wayspotters, there's a couple of different ways that you can show us. So first, you can follow us on all of our socials, right? So our main social is going to be Twitter. We are at Wayspotters. Wait, X? Do I need to start to say follow us on X?
I'm going to keep calling it Twitter. I'm sorry. I can't.
If his mama call him Twitter, I'm going to call him Twitter. Okay. All right. Okay. Never mind. All right. So follow us on Twitter at Wayspotters. You can also follow us on our Instagram at Wayspotters Podcast. And as you guys know, because you blow our stuff up, we have a TikTok. It's at I Make Wayspots. We're incredibly responsive. We love interacting with our viewers and our listeners. And we've got several videos now that are over 2,000, 2,500 views. We really appreciate you. So check them out. And thank you guys for doing so. So secondly, what you can do is you can send us an email. You can go to our website, I should say, wayspotters.com. From there, you can get the links to everywhere you can download the show. You can also send us a message directly through the website, or you can email us like Mouse did at wayspotters.com or at wayspotters@pokemonprofessor.com. Now, some of you may be watching this on YouTube, and we appreciate you for doing that. If you're not watching us on YouTube and you're listening on audio, you can go to youtube.com/@WaySpottersPodcast. You can see our beautiful faces or our not so beautiful faces and what we have going on. And you can also see that we have our t-shirts on today. Show them your t-shirt, Chris. There it is. And there's a link to our description if you want to go and buy some Wayspotters merch. We would really appreciate it. And then anybody wearing a Wayspotters t-shirt or any Wayspotters merch in New York, I will autograph it for you if you want to. Ooh, that sounded pretentious. Ooh, I like the way that sounds.
No, that sounds good. I'm going to bring a Sharpie with me.
Yeah, we'll bring a Sharpie. So if you buy Wayspotters merch, we'll autograph it, or we'll autograph a piece of paper for you. Since we're not notable trainers yet, we're just kind of plebs, but we'll give you an autograph. So so third, if you are an American listener or you want to dial an American phone number, you can call us on our hotline, 704-426-3710. You never know. You may end up on the show, or you may call my cell phone and I just might answer it. I'm trying not to do that. Or you can just tweet us a voice message. And finally, if you are not a member of the Pokemon Professor Network Patreon, you can join for as little as $1 US, $1.34 Canadian, $1.50 Australian. I don't remember what the pounds is, but all you need to do is go to www.patreon.com/Pokemon Professor, and you can join for as little as the amounts I said. So that's going to give you access to the Discord for the entire family of shows across the Pokemon Professor Network, including Wayspotters, Special Conditions, Gotta Watch Them All, Purified Podcasts, and Lured Up. It's a fantastic place filled with fantastic people. So before we get you guys back out to your Sunday, do me a favor. Wherever you are listening to this show right now, go in and give us a review. Remember, 5 stars are the best stars, and it really helps out the show. It helps us get the algorithm to kick in so more people see it, and we really appreciate it. So with that, we look forward to you watching and listening to us again next week. Thank you for tuning into Wayspotters, and remember that there's only one way to stop a forest fire, and that's pause my mixtape.